In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 NBA games happening on March 12, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Utah Jazz versus Memphis Grizzlies. The Utah Jazz are set to take on the Memphis Grizzlies this Wednesday night in what should be an interesting matchup. The Grizzlies are riding a 3-game winning streak, though their victories have been getting tighter each time. Meanwhile, the Jazz are still searching for their first win in March, struggling to find their footing as the season winds down. Injury updates are worth keeping an eye on for both teams. The Jazz are monitoring the status of Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, and Jaden Springer, all of whom are listed as questionable. On the other side, the Grizzlies have ruled Brandon Clark and Zach Edey as questionable for this game. Despite their struggles, the Jazz have managed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 10 games, including 3 of their last 4. They'll be playing their 5th consecutive road game in Memphis. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, have had mixed results against the spread lately. They secured an 11-point win as 9.5-point favorites against the Mavericks, but have otherwise failed to cover in their last 12 games. The Grizzlies have strung together a few wins against weaker opponents, which has inflated their recent lines. Sure, the Jazz aren't exactly a powerhouse right now, and their injury woes suggest they aren't prioritizing wins at this point. However, oddsmakers keep setting high expectations, and the Jazz have managed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 10 games. The Grizzlies, despite their talent, have been inconsistent over the past few weeks, going 1-8-1 against the spread in their last 10 games. Historically, the underdog has performed well in this matchup, covering the spread in 6 of the last 9 games between these two teams. The Jazz are clearly ready for the season to end, as they've been unable to secure a win lately. That said, they haven't been completely terrible. In their last game, they erased a 24-point deficit against the Celtics, showing they still have some fight left. The Grizzlies, meanwhile, have been struggling themselves, narrowly escaping with a win over the Suns on Monday. They're also missing Jaren Jackson Jr., who has been a consistent force for them all season. While the Grizzlies are expected to win this game, and frankly, they need to, the point spread feels a bit too high. If the spread were in the single digits, this would be a tougher call. As our first pick for this matchup, the Utah Jazz to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The under has hit in each of the Grizzlies' last 4 games, and the total line for this matchup is set at 244.5, which is higher than the pregame lines in 3 of those contests. On the flip side, the over has been more favorable in recent Jazz games, though those games have featured lower total lines. This will be the first time since February 3rd that the Jazz have seen a pregame total line over 240. In that game, they lost 111-112 to the Pacers, and the total stayed under 242.5 points. Before that, their January meeting with the Grizzlies ended 103-125, comfortably under the line of 247 points. Those are the only 2 instances of the Jazz playing in games with total lines above 240, and the under has hit both times. Given the current trends, I'd lean toward the Grizzlies helping extend that streak rather than breaking it. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Phoenix Suns versus Houston Rockets. 2 Western Conference teams are set to face off on the hardwood in Texas as the Phoenix Suns take on the Houston Rockets on Wednesday night. The Suns are coming off a tough 120-118 road loss to the Memphis Grizzlies on Monday, though they managed to cover the spread as 2.5-point underdogs. Meanwhile, the Rockets are riding high after a dominant 97-84 home victory over the Orlando Magic on Monday, where they covered the line as 3-point favorites. Historically, the Suns hold a slim 118-113 edge in the regular season series between these two teams. However, the Rockets have won the last 2 matchups, including a 119-111 home win in their first meeting this season on February 12th. Both teams are dealing with some injury concerns heading into this game. The Suns will still be without Monty Morris, while the Rockets remain without Amen Thompson. However, Houston is expecting to welcome back Fred VanVleet, who has been sidelined with an ankle injury. The Suns are in a tough spot, desperate for wins but lacking confidence after their recent loss to the Grizzlies. They now face a Rockets squad that's been steadily improving and should have their starting point guard back in the lineup. It's been a disappointing season for Phoenix, and they have a lot of ground to make up if they hope to even secure a spot in the play-in tournament. The Suns missed out on a chance to strengthen their roster by failing to acquire Jimmy Butler, who ultimately landed with the Golden State Warriors. Instead, Phoenix made no significant moves during the season, and their lack of roster changes has hurt their performance. On the other hand, Houston has been one of the better stories of the season, playing solid basketball and now getting VanVleet back after his injury. While you could make a case for either team, the Rockets have been the more consistent squad this year, and they offer good value as slight home favorites. The Rockets have been strong at home and are riding a wave of momentum. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Rockets to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Phoenix has been involved in high-scoring games recently, with the total going over in 7 of their last 10 contests. During that stretch, they've averaged 122 points per game, which is 8 points above their season average. The problem is their defense, which has allowed an average of 124.5 points per game over those 10 games, including 2 games where they gave up at least 145 points. Despite ranking 8th in offensive efficiency, the Suns are 23rd in tempo, averaging just 97.5 possessions per game. Houston, meanwhile, has averaged 114 points per game over their last 10, slightly above their season mark. The Rockets rank 19th in tempo, averaging 97.6 possessions per game. Both teams are middle of the pack in terms of pace, which could make for an interesting dynamic in this matchup. Devin Booker struggled from beyond the arc in Sunday's game, failing to hit a three-pointer for the 8th time this season. However, he bounced back with 26 points and 3 triples in the loss to Memphis. The 28-year-old shooting guard has been turnover-prone lately, committing 5 in that game and at least 4 in 6 of his last 8 outings. On the bright side, Booker has dished out at least 5 assists in 13 of his last 14 games. Kevin Durant, meanwhile, has been on a scoring tier, dropping at least 29 points in 3 of his last 4 games. The 36-year-old forward has been a consistent offensive force since the All-Star break. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Los Angeles Clippers versus Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are set to face off against the Los Angeles Clippers in a Tuesday night showdown. The Clippers are making their way to the East Coast riding a 3-game winning streak, which gives them a bit of momentum heading into this matchup. On the other hand, the Heat are struggling, having lost 4 consecutive games and desperately searching for a way to turn things around. When these two teams met back in January, the Clippers came out on top, and now they're aiming to complete a season sweep against Miami. The Clippers are still dealing with some absences, as Ben Simmons and Norman Powell remain sidelined. Meanwhile, the Heat are keeping a close watch on Alec Burks, who is listed as questionable for this game. The Clippers appeared to be finding their rhythm with 3 straight wins before stumbling against the struggling Pelicans last night. As for the Heat, their rough patch continues, with a recent loss to the lowly Hornets highlighting their ongoing struggles to find consistent scoring outside of Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo. Miami currently sits in 9th place in the Eastern Conference, which is considered weaker compared to the West. They're holding on to a play-in spot, but their recent performances have been far from inspiring. The Heat have dropped 4 straight games and 5 of their last 6. In their most recent loss, they squandered a 17-point lead against one of the NBA's worst teams. This marked the 3rd time in March alone that Miami has blown a lead of at least 17 points, and all of those collapses happened on their home court. They led the Knicks by 19 on March 2nd, the Bulls by 17 on Saturday, and the Hornets by 17 in the first half. At this point in the season, it's hard to trust this team to hold on to a lead. The Clippers are coming off a rough loss to the Pelicans and are playing the second night of a back-to-back. That likely means Kawhi Leonard won't suit up, which puts Los Angeles in a tough spot. However, betting on the Heat to cover the spread isn't a reliable option either. Miami has repeatedly blown double-digit leads and is coming off home losses to the Bulls and Hornets. It's time to face the facts. The Heat are not a good team right now, and it's hard to confidently back them given their recent performances. Despite their struggles, the Heat have opened as slight favorites, thanks to an extra day of rest and home court advantage. However, the Clippers are clearly the better team overall. well. I expect them to bounce back from last night's mistakes with a stronger defensive effort in this game. As the saying goes, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And right now, the Heat are showing us they're not a team to trust. As our first pick for this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Clippers are traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast, and their inability to quickly adjust to the time change could hinder their offensive efficiency. On top of that, the Heat have their own offensive issues. While Miami has plenty of star power, their lack of depth is a glaring weakness. Kawhi Leonard played 40 minutes in Sunday's win over the Kings, scoring 17 points. His increased minutes are a positive sign, especially after he was shut down late last season before what could have been a deep playoff run. It's unclear how his minutes will be managed moving forward, but he's expected to play in this game against the Heat. Both teams play at a slow pace. Miami ranks 28th in pace, and neither is particularly efficient on offense, with both falling outside the top 20 in offensive rating. However, the Clippers are an elite defensive team, ranking 3rd in defensive rating. Fans should expect some rust from both sides, and scoring is likely to be hard to come by. This game is shaping up to be a low-scoring battle, especially with the Clippers traveling cross-country to face Miami. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.